Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new I Don't Work Here Lady stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first one is titled, Snowmobile Karen Regrets Involving the Owner. So, this happened about a week ago when I was asked to fill in for a friend at a ski center. Yes, ski centers are allowed to be open in my country due to it being outside. The layout of the area is somewhat important to the story, so allow me to give you a short tour. There are 5 ski lifts from left to right: family lift, kiddie lift, which is just a rope that the kids hold on to and it takes them about 10 meters up, 2 anchor lifts beside each other, and the last one leads to the street, which is for rails and jumps. None of them are gondola lifts as the center only requires anchor lift. I was working at the so-called family lift, which is meant for families with little kids. This means that the slope is small compared to the rest so that everyone in the family can ride together. Next to the lift I was working at is a sledding slope, which is for people who just want to come sledding, and this is free, meaning you don't need a ski pass to enter. Also, every lift has a snowmobile, and I had mine parked next to the lift so I could have somewhere to sit if I wanted to, and due to the cold, the suspension was somewhat frozen, which meant that when someone took a seat on the snowmobile it made a sound. Now to the story, we have entitled Snow Karen-esque, Hexborn HS1 and 2 and me being me. I was helping a young girl onto the lift as she was having problems. That was one of my tasks at work, and when I had my back turned while helping the girl, I heard the suspension creak and my first thought was that, oh, my turn to go get lunch, as I thought it was my co-worker, but nope, I turn around and see 2 of Karen's Hexborn trying to start the snowmobile. Me, hey. What on earth do you think you're doing? HS1, we want to drive the snowmobile. HS2, yeah. We're going to drive it up the slope. Me, no, you can't do that. You are not old enough, you have to be at least 16 to drive one, and they were about 5 to 6 years old, and you can't drive this unless you work here. HS2, but mum said we could. Me, I don't care what your mum says, you are not allowed on it. Esk, why are you talking to my babies? Me, ma'am, are they your Hexborn? Esk, yes. Now tell me why you are talking to them. Me, they were on the snowmobile and trying to start it to take it for a joyride. Esk, so? I told them they could. Me, ma'am, they can't do that. They're not old enough, they don't work here and they haven't been trained on how to operate it. Esk, oh, stop being so rude. Just teach them how to operate it now. Me, I can't, they're not old enough, and unless you work here you are not allowed drive it on the area. HS1, mum, I want to drive. HS2, tell him to start it. Esk, now look at what you've done. You made them sad. I demand you start the snowmobile and let them ride. At this point one of our regulars and former co-worker came to the lift and gave me a look. You need help, son? I told him, oh hi Mike, not real name. Tell, insert boss's name here. I said hello. I know it sounds cheesy to say we used a code, but we have all been told that if we are in a situation where we need the owner and we don't want to say it out loud, for one reason or another, to, if possible, tell someone who works or has worked there to tell the owner I said hello and the boss would come down if possible. Anyway, he understood, and he went up with the lift and down the slope towards the office. Now during that 10-second window the Esk had climbed the fence and joined her kids at the snowmobile to get it started. And then something struck me, and I don't know why I didn't notice it before, but no one of them was in ski gear, no helmets, ski boots, skis or anything, and the Esk had left 2 sleds behind the fence. Me, still somehow polite, ma'am, why aren't any of you in ski gear? Esk, because we decided to just go sledding. Me, you can't be on this side of the gate if you aren't planning to ski. Esk, yes, we can, we are paying customers. We ate inside the restaurant. Me, doesn't matter, you can't be here unless you are going to ski. Esk, now shut, you little idiot, we are paying customers and that means we have the right to be here and the right to ride the snowmobile. At this point I lost it and I decided to use my army voice. We have compulsory military service in my country. Me, okay, that's it, get off the snowmobile now. I commanded them, and they all looked shocked. I guess they never expected a reaction like that from me. Esk, still shocked, H, how dare you talk to me like that? You need to show your elders some res. I cut her off. Me, I have tried to be polite and to tell you kindly to leave the snowmobile and yet you have refused. Do you realize that your kids could die or get injured or even worse, kill or injure someone if they drove this thing? You and your kids need to leave as you clearly have nor right nor deserve the right to be here. At this point she tried to play the victim card when a family of 6 came to the lift. Help. Help. This boy is harassing me and my babies. Luckily for me the family didn't believe her when I explained the situation and I assured them that I didn't need help. Now the decided that she would play the infamous "I know the owner" card. With a smug look on her face said, "You know I know the owner, so unless you want to lose your job, I suggest you start this snowmobile." Don't know why she didn't care about my warning about her kids killing or injuring themselves or others. Me, "Oh, you know the owner." Yes. At this point I saw the owner walking towards us as the regular had sent him me. "Well, here is your chance to explain to him why I should get fired," I said as I waved at him. I could see the worry a little, but she quickly shook it off. Owner, so, what is the problem here then? Flew into a rant. "Your employee has been so rude towards me and my kids and refused to let my babies ride the snowmobile even though I know we are allowed to do so as paying customers." Owner, no. You are not allowed to because it is dangerous and wasteful. Also, I can see that none of you are dressed to be on this side of the fence and thus I can assume you have not paid to be here. Well, what about him? She said as she pointed at me, "He is not dressed for skiing either." Owner, well, that is because he works here, and he should not be dressed for skiing. Slowly realizing she is fighting a losing battle decided to go for the harassment claim. Well, he harassed me, and my babies and I demand he is fired for his behavior. Now the owner is a chill guy and has a great sense of humor and does not take BS from anyone and he saw he had an amazing chance to strike down this Karen. Owner, well then, should we see what audio the cameras have recorded? No, that is not necessary, but I demand he be fired for his behavior. The owner cut her off. Owner, and I guess I should also tell my daughter that her boyfriend is a horrible person for harassing a mother and her children, right? Oh, how devastated she will be, he said sarcastically. You see, what the didn't know is that I have been dating the owner's daughter for 2 years and when I have time, I spend the weekends at her family's house. Now the realized that her battle was lost and just on cue started shrieking about how she will leave a horrible Facebook review, how the police will hear about this, how she will never come back because we are so horrible to customers, yada, you guys know the drill. After she left, me and the owner started laughing and he said he would save the security footage because he wanted to keep this as a Karen takedown trophy. Not long after I got my lunch break, and I called my girlfriend to tell her about the encounter and she started laughing as well. I do hope I get to see her again so I can ask her if she would like to see the owner again. Thanks for reading, hope you guys liked it. The next one is entitled Aunt Calls CPS on My Father After He Refuses to Co-Sign for Her New Car. This happened back in 2006, so some of the details are a little fuzzy and I'm dyslexic, so I apologize if there are any spelling errors. Background: my aunt tends to go through cars like you wouldn't believe and had just ruined her 30th car. Yes, that's 30. My grandmother, her mother, had offered to give her my late grandfather's car since my grandmother no longer needed 2 cars. But that wasn't good enough for my aunt. She had her eye on an overpriced 7-year-old red SUV with a ridiculous number of miles, and because of her financial situation she needed someone to co-sign to get a loan for the car. My grandmother, who had lost her husband not even 2 years prior, had no interest in co-signing for a new car that would probably die before it was paid off. So, at Sunday dinner one week, my aunt asked my father, her younger brother, if he would co-sign for her car loan. My father basically told her, no way in heck. If I co-sign for a car for anyone it would be for my 16-year-old daughter, me, not you. Take Dad's old car. Which triggered a major fight between my father and his sister. Which ended in my aunt screaming, if you won't co-sign for my car loan, I'll call Child Protective Services because Op is sleeping on a mattress on the floor. My bed frame had broken not even a week before, so I was sleeping on a box spring and mattress on the floor until we could get me a new bed frame. This is important. None of us thought anything about the threat, since my aunt had a habit of making empty threats when she didn't get her way, until a few days later. A few days later I got called down to the guidance office in the middle of a chemistry test for an urgent matter. When I got to the office I was led into a small room with the school's social worker and another woman. The woman then asked me, hello Op, I have a few questions about your living arrangements. She asked me questions like, what's your home life like? How do your parents treat you? Are you happy at home? Do you have your own room? Etc. It wasn't until she asked, how do you sleep at night? Did I start to mentally piece things together? And I asked, what is this about? The woman hesitated but eventually told me, we received an anonymous tip that your father is forcing you to sleep on the floor. We want to know what that's about. And that's when everything clicked, and I was livid. So, I told the woman, I'm not being forced to sleep on the floor. My bed frame broke about a week ago, so I'm currently sleeping on a box spring and mattress until my new bed gets delivered. I'll bet you any amount of money my aunt was the person who made that anonymous tip because my father refused to co-sign for her to get a new car. The woman from CPS looked stunned, then turned towards the school social worker and asked if they had a way of reaching my father to confirm things. Since the number they had was outdated, I took my dinky little Nokia prepaid cell phone out of my bag and gave them my father's work cell phone number. Unfortunately, I have no idea what was said during that conversation since I was sent out of the room during the call, but it's safe to assume my father confirmed what I had said. Once they got off the phone with my father, the women came out and the woman from CPS apologized to me and I told her I understood, and she was just doing her job and went back to class. The aftermath, when confronted about it, my aunt admitted to making the call to CPS and my grandmother was furious. She made sure my aunt didn't end up getting that red SUV she wanted. She was forced to take my late grandfather's 1998 Chevy Cavalier. Unfortunately, my aunt didn't get in any legal trouble for the false CPS report due to it being an anonymous tip, but my father gave her a harsh warning about what would happen to her if she pulled another stunt like that again. My aunt is still super entitled and has sadly only gotten worse. The next one is titled, M calls the police on me for stealing her daughter who is my girlfriend and an adult. This happened about 5 years ago. My fiancé and I have been together 7 years this month. We're hoping to get married this year but might postpone due to the circumstances. We were reminiscing some old stories yesterday when this one came up, and she suggested I share it. She was my girlfriend at the time, and at the time I was fully aware that her mum was a few fries short of a happy meal, but this was the pinnacle of her behavior. If you guys enjoy this story, I actually have a few more I shall share if you like. Sorry for the length, but I hope you guys enjoy it. FYI, there is a happy ending. Cast M, entitled Mum, My Future Mother-in-Law. Girlfriend, LEPO, police officer story. Ellie and I weren't living together at the time, she just stayed over from time to time when she could. I took her home after she had been staying with me a couple days and was heading to work. But shortly after, just before getting to work, I get a phone call from her and I can tell she is in tears. Apparently when she got inside, M immediately blew up on her about being gone for so long, even though it was only 2 days, and she told M she was going to be gone and kept in contact with her while she was gone. But Ellie just sorta brushed it off and went to her room. M's house was pretty much your stereotypical crazy cat lady house. House badly decaying, cats all over the place, going to the bathroom in random places and whatnot. And when Ellie gets to her room, she realizes while she was gone, the cats pissed and crap all over a pile of her clean clothes. But whatever, Ellie decided to just bag them up and she would wash them next time she came to my place. Her mum didn't have a functioning washer at the time, and apparently, that really set M off. M apparently thought Ellie was bagging her clothes because she was planning to go back to my place that night, stay another few days. So, she stomped into her room, grabbed the bag, ripped it open, and flung the clothes all over the room along with the cat crap and piss while screaming at Ellie that she's not going anywhere. That's when Ellie ran outside and called me. She was so upset and didn't know what to do. Her mum had been doing crazy stuff to Ellie since I'd been with her, but up until I just helped her however I could while not getting involved and not saying a word to her mum. I told her to go ahead and get the things she needs, and I'll take her to my place. She said she would love that. I told my work I was going to be late due to an emergency and turned around to go pick her up. When I pulled back up to the house, Ellie was in the driveway crying. I went and hugged her, told her it was going to be okay and that she could stay with me as long as she wanted. So, she went back inside to get her things. As I was standing outside waiting, I heard the door open again and went to help Ellie with her things. Uh-oh, it's her mum. M comes stomping out with her hair crazy and frizzled, and an old nightgown. She beelines for me and gets right in my face. M, with an extremely thick high-pitched southern accent, my daughter said I need to come out her and ask what you think of me. I knew that was a blatant lie, as Ellie would never instigate this. You got something to say? Huh? You think I'm trash, don't you, huh? That's what you think, isn't it? Again, up until now, I'd completely kept my mouth shut, and was trying to maintain that. But this woman was up in my face, freaking out, and was tormenting the woman I loved, so I finally looked at her and broke my silence. Op, why do you treat her like this? M, gasp, what do you mean? That's my daughter and I worship the ground she walks on. Op, oh really? So, calling her a slut, witch, want, and whore is worship? Yes, I've heard her say this with my own ears. M, gasp, I would never say anything like that. Op, getting rather irate, bullcrap. I've heard you say it. M, explosion, you get your ducking ass off my property. Okay, I almost never find myself in situations like this, so I'm not used to it. I say that because after she said this, I pretty much saw red. I'm not proud of it, but I just started shouting every curse word in the book I could possibly think of at the top of my lungs while she went back in the house. But thankfully, that only lasted a few seconds and I immediately calmed down. So finally, Ellie comes back out with her stuff, we put it in the car, and I assume it's over. But Ellie turns to me and speaks. Ellie, I'm sorry but we can't leave yet. Op, why not? Ellie, sigh, mum called the cops. I sorta had a feeling that would happen, no big deal. So, we just sat and waited for the cop to arrive. After about 10 minutes or so, a cop car pulls up. Right when he does, M comes out of the house, and oh my god. Yes, she was doing exactly what you think. She instantly puts on the fragile, brittle old lady act. Hunched over, walking slowly, the whole gig. And of course, when P.O. asks her what happened, she has to pitch her entire medical chart to the guy. Ellie will tell you this woman has been terminally ill for 12 years lol. So, when she finally gets done trying to milk this poor guy for sympathy, she tells her version of what happened. M, sir, he came onto my property and verbally attacked me. He's awful to me, sir, and I've never even done anything to him. He's turned my daughter against me and is trying to convince her to leave. At first, he seemed somewhat sympathetic to her, until he turns to Ellie. P.O., ma'am, this is your boyfriend. Ellie, yes sir. P.O., okay, and how old are you? Ellie, sir. I'm 23. This was my favorite part because the officer looked up from his notepad with a look of wait, what? Obviously, he was thinking Ellie was a minor or something based off of how M was acting, but quickly realized just what he was dealing with. Eventually he turns to me. P.O., okay sir, please give me your version of what happened. I did so. Funny side note, at one point P.O. looks up at me and says, P.O., you look really familiar, do I know you? It actually turned out that P.O. and I had gone to high school together. Once we recognized each other, we laughed and shook hands and very briefly. This was hilarious because out of the corner of my eye, I see M has a big scowl on her face as she sees me getting friendly with P.O. But anyway. P.O. puts his notepad away and turns to me. Just FYI, he says the following with this heavy tone of, I know that you are fully aware of this and don't believe you are in the wrong at all, but I have to say this as a formality. P.O., well op, she doesn't want you on the property, so be aware that if you come back here you technically can be charged with trespassing. Do you understand this as I've explained it? Op, absolutely sir. M, but sir, I want to press charges. P.O., he didn't do anything illegal ma'am. M, but he verbally assaulted me. P.O., I understand that, and while that was ill-advised, he slightly turns to me and gives me a small gesture with his hand, and I nod in agreement. It's not something I could arrest him for. He agrees he will not come back on your property without your direct permission. M, ugh, okay fine whatever. Ellie, come back inside. Ellie, what? No. M, you heard P.O., op is leaving and you're staying here. P.O., whoa, ma'am, I didn't say that at all. M, but. P.O., your daughter is not a child ma'am, she is a full-grown adult, she has every right to go wherever she wants. M, I'm her mother. She lives under my roof. I told her she needs to stay here so she needs to stay. P.O., no ma'am, that's not how it works. If she wants to go stay with her boyfriend, there is absolutely nothing you can do to stop her. M starts the fake crocodile tears and stomps in the house in defeat. Ellie and I thanked the officer, got in the car and left. We've been living together ever since. Happy ending. Believe it or not, M isn't really much of an M anymore. Over the years since that day, M has actually decided to make an effort to try and improve herself. I guess she realized that if she didn't make changes, she would lose her relationship with Ellie. So, M started taking advantage of her medical coverage and went to see her psychiatrist and got medicine for mental illness she actually had, as opposed to the ones she would make up. Since then, well, she has actually gotten way better. She takes her medicine regularly and has a boyfriend that is an extremely kind man and treats Ellie as though she were his own daughter. So basically, M isn't really an M anymore. We actually get along very well, and we see them frequently, and we help each other out whenever we can. We actually look back on the early years when she was in fact an M and laugh. So not only is everybody getting along well, but we can also actually share the cringe stories and happily laugh about them. If you guys would like to hear some more, let me know. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support Reading Bear.